Hi everyone and welcome back to Alejandro HD. Today I thought I would talk a bit about the Lords of Chaos film. I've seen this film many times. I'm a big fan of Mayhem. You might have realised that from the shirts I've been wearing in the previous films, but I just wanted to talk about it today. And I know a lot of people probably won't watch this video because, Mayhem, black metal is kind of a no-go area for a lot of people, and I understand that. But for the people that will watch this, hold on to your hats because I'm going to review the hell out of this film. In a sense, it's not the best film. Okay, I mean, you got Varg who was complaining about the fact that he was played by a Jewish actor, and he was classed as an overweight guy, and a bit of a suck up to Euronymous, and yeah. I mean, I think the concept of Varg in the film is slightly true. I mean, yeah, he sort of yeah, of course, he didn't look like the guy who played Emery Cohen. But what I did like about it was he went to the extreme in the film, and that's exactly what Varg done in real life: burn down churches, murder a guy. But we'll get into that a bit later. Um, Lords of Chaos overall was one of these films that I enjoyed because as a fan of Mayhem and as a fan of the genre of black metal, I can see why people would be like completely against it, and I can see why people would just be like, "No, I'm not watching this film. This is horrible," and that's fine. And I think if you enjoy films, it's a good film to watch. I think it's all there. Like if you didn't know anything about Mayhem or black metal, if you just watch the film as is, you think that's a good film. I mean, it's well designed, well production. Production was great. Uh, you know, slight issues with certain costumes and what they wore and things like that. But you can't get it completely correct in some of these cases. I understand that. Music, we'll get into that in a bit. But overall, I'd say it's a solid film, and it's up for a lot of debate. I've spoke to a couple of people who I know who are fans of Mayhem who have just completely blacklisted the film. It's not for them, and I get that too. And I think that we need to look into the different elements of it. So one thing I will cover is the suicide of Pelle Olin, dead, of course, the lead singer of Mayhem. We'll get into that in just a bit. The portrayal of Euronymous, of course, by Macaulay Culkin's younger brother, which is just really strange to see because he looks exactly like Macaulay Culkin. And then, of course, Emery Cohen as Varg. So lots of character development, lots of different scenes in the film that we need to sort of really analyse and break down, and we're going to get through all of those. First thing, I think we'll start with Euronymous because Euronymous was the creator of Mayhem, the creator, in a sense, the sort of the main drive of Norwegian black metal, the second wave. So Euronymous, as we see in the film and as we know in real life, created Mayhem. A decent guitar player. And had a lot of influence in the scene. And he gathered up these sort of band of guys who were a bit lost, and he created this really crazy band who done a lot of Slayer covers and and a lot of heavy songs, and they just really needed that last element, the last sort of touch, and that's where they got Pelle Olin for the lead singer of Dead. And there was a lot of really cool things in that that sort of transpired. And what I like to do is I know that the film is 90% rubbish. I like to use it because I wasn't there obviously, but I think the film is a good sort of visual aid for people who weren't in the part of the scene and who maybe haven't taken a long time to catch up with what's going on. Seeing Pelle in that sort of way, the whole scene with the cross, the crucifix, and the mouse, and the tape, which I thought was really cool. They added that in there. There was lots of really interesting, really nice parts of the story of the whole Mayhem story that were brought in the film. Of course, they could really use real music. When the Burzum album came, the Burzum record that Varg gave to Euronymous, he was listening to. Obviously, you couldn't really hear it because Varg refused to have any of his music rights brought into the film, which of course you can understand because it's Varg and he's a nut job, but not in a nasty way, but he is just complete nuts. And then of course, so what good story, good narrative from the Euronymous character, like, oh, we were just a bunch of guys, we were teenagers, and then we played guitar, and we played heavy, loud music, we drank beer, we saw lots of girls, and we done this, and we done, yeah. It's a good narrative. Ain't exactly true, but good narrative nonetheless. And then, of course, then they brought in Pella. And then you had the drummer. Now, before Hellhammer, there was Mannheim, I think his name was. I'm going to actually double check that. There's Hellhammer, of course. Where was his face? Faust, we'll get into him in a wee bit. Necrobutcher, of course. Where was he? Well, I can't see him, but he's there. The guy, the original drummer of Mayhem before he left. He was only there for a few years, and then of course Hellhammer came in. So the casting. We'll start with the casting first. So of course Rory Culkin is a Euronymous. Okay for an early age Euronymous, getting a bit older. Euronymous gained a lot of weight, so a bit of a weird skinny Euronymous. Emre Cohen as Varg, absolutely zero. I mean, I think from what I remember, from Varg posted a video saying he was not happy with the casting of himself played by a Jewish person. We know why, but I think the reason why one of my theories, director point of view, he probably cast Emre Cohen in there sort of an insult to Varg because Varg didn't allow him to play any of his music in the film. Just my theory, but I'd say that's the reason. Jack Kilmer as Pella. I actually really enjoyed Jack Kilmer's performance. Jack Kilmer, he done a lot of. I think he's done a lot of studying on the character. He played very well. And of course, Anthony Del Torre as Hellhammer. Hellhammer didn't have a lot of lines in the film, but he played his part. Sky Fiera as the woman. There was no woman. There was never a woman involved. Obviously that's just there for the sake of being there. Films need to cast a female, some person female in these films because if they don't, then they get viewed as. Yeah, I'm not getting into that. But there was no Sky Fiera as Anne Marty. That was not a real person. I've read a lot of stuff about Mayhem, and I've seen a lot of things about their documentaries and stuff. There was no woman there who was tempting them or anything like that, so that's just nonsense. Of course, the guy who played Faust, I think they were obviously making him to be a little bit silly, a little bit stupid. Great, scenes were, fast, they came and they were quite fast and didn't have a lot to say, but I think that showed a lot about what the character was, very sort of dim-witted, and I enjoyed it. And then of course Necrobutcher, he didn't have a big part to play in it, but his sort of stance against Euronymous about taking photos of Pella's dead body, that was real, and Necrobutcher did express a lot of anger towards Euronymous, with all of that. So there's a lot of good stuff there. The film itself bases itself on truth and lies, and I think that's a big point there. Truth and lies. Of course, there was a lot of exaggerations in the film. A lot of things that happened in the film didn't happen in real life. That's just how all films are these days. But one thing I really think that they done tastefully well was the suicide of Pelle Olin. That was a big tragedy for everyone involved. Everyone who enjoys heavy, black metal. I think if he was around today, the music he could have brought to the forefront would have been incredible. Like lyrics-wise, like he was unmatched. Really, really great writer, and and I think that all of that being said, just with the suicide. It was very graphic, and a props to the art department who really sort of brought a lot of blood and a lot of gore to that, and it was a very solitary scene, and it really got me because you hear the voicemail from Pella's father, who told him that he got into art school as he was, committing suicide, and it's very deep and very sort of poignant, the whole film. So that alone, that stand out. I mean, everything else is sort of in flux. Things happen, things didn't happen, but the whole part of the suicide, the whole sort of, I think, 8 minute scene of him just, or maybe 7 minute scene of him just walking around the house and just doing what he done, and the build up to that, the performance beforehand. I believe they were using live in Leipzig. It might have been live in Stars, the German place that they performed live, and it might have been there. I'm not entirely sure, but wherever they had Pella performing his final contribution to the Mayhem, and then I think it was about a good 6 or 7 months after that, where he, of course, committed suicide. It's very, very well done. The moments leading after it, of course, the church burnings. Now, the church burnings, I think, with Varg character taking the lead on that and burning down churches because he wanted to send a message, because it all started getting out of hand. Started off as a simple him wanting to be accepted and be part of the community, Euronymous saying, you're not good enough, and then him proving that he could be part of the community, and then it all started getting out of hand, burning down many churches and all this sort of thing. And I think, I don't know how much, because Varg sort of, he was sort of very vague on that subject, as he should, you'd expect him to be, because he got 22 years in jail for that, or 19 or 17 years in jail for burning down churches, plus murdering a guy. But that was the one thing I really did think about that. One thing I did enjoy about not enjoy, but one thing I thought was really interesting about that whole trial that he was put on was that he had burned down churches. Plus, he was a murderer. No, he stabbed a guy 22 times in the head with a shiv or a very small knife. No. He burned down 9 or 19, or I can't remember the exact count, but a lot of churches, and that's what got him in jail. The Norwegians, the media, and the government were very weird on that one. But regardless of that, he was sort of in the film. He was sort of turned by Euronymous to be this guy and to do these things. But I think Varg made it very clear that he was very much the man. He was the guy who burned down churches, and he was the man who killed Euronymous, and he was the big man, and everything else is irrelevant, and that's fine. I don't have, I don't think that. I think because this is, as much as a historical event, people are still alive to tell the tales, and I don't think we should really judge. We should really say, Varg is completely incorrect in that, because nobody was really there other than the people who were there. And then we'll talk about Euronymous, and his portrayal was really interesting because we all know from Euronymous that his whole thing was, make it big, be the dark evil types, and in the film he tried to portray that as well as they could in the film with Euronymous, and we see his downfall. We had the whole made up female interactions. We never know. Nobody confirmed if Euronymous had a girlfriend. I mean, there was never stated. Necrobucher himself has said that there was no woman there. Varga said there was no real woman there either. So this was just made up for the film, and that's fine. You need that for the films. I think sometimes it can't all be doom and gloom. You need some romance element these days in films, and that's fine. And it showed the softer side, and it showed the fact that Euronymous really was this evil character who took photos of his dead friend's body. He was still really sort of, a person at heart, and Lords of Chaos really sort of had a full character sphere of Euronymous, and then you just had Faust, who just killed off a gay person who, what I mean? That was a whole thing. I mean, I mean, in the film, what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't murdering a person because he was gay. He was murdering a person because, according to Euronymous, he told him to do that. He was like, yeah, murder a guy and see how it feels, and he goes out and does it. And the guy just happens to be gay. I think in real life, Faust admitted to murdering a homosexual because the guy was homosexual. And in the film, he's in a bar and he gets sought out by a homosexual man. So, what are truth and what are lies in the Lords of Chaos film? I mean, regardless, it's a very graphic, brutal scene, and take nothing away from it. Like the filmmakers who made this film really knew what they were doing when it came to how things looked. They had the burning of the churches, you had the murderings, you had the live performances, and they had the self-harm, and it all looked amazing. Weird to say that looked amazing, but it did. It looked real, and that was a great element. I mean, the casting wasn't great. Varg's character wasn't cast very well. Euronymous' character wasn't cast very well. Dead's character, let's just get his name up again, because that was Jack Kilmer, of course, Val Kilmer's son. Excellent character, played Pella brilliantly. Guy who played Hellhammer, Anthony De La Torre, brilliant actor. Sky Ferreira, I mean, give her credit. The girl who played the girl who didn't exist, done a great job. She really sort of brought that romantic element. Faust had the guy who played Faust was really good, I felt. The guy who played Necrobutcher was very good, I felt. And then other guys, some other people were not really involved. I mean, guy who played the cultist, yeah, okay. When it came to and then of course Attila as well. Attila from later on stages, the guy who played Attila was okay. Didn't have like one line in the whole film, but yeah. Overall, I mean, anyone who's watched this video will know the story and will know exactly what happened, regardless of if you enjoyed Lord of Chaos or not. This is just my take on it, and I know that a lot of people won't watch this, and that's fine. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on it, and just a little closing clip. I actually found a real clip of Pella walking around in the woods. I thought this was really interesting. It shows him just being a nice, normal, young guy, just mucking about in the forest, He's just the guy, and it's a shame that how his life ended. He was only 22. He could have brought a lot to the scene, but yeah. Anyway, on that note, and with him walking around the woods and his big buck teeth, I'll leave it there. And if anyone enjoyed this video, I've had quite a few beers. Just if you want to see anything more or want to see me produce any more content like this, then please don't hesitate to give me a shout. I'm always here, just trying to get through this lockdown by producing films. I keep saying films, videos for YouTube, and yeah, hope you all enjoyed. Cheers.